in this perspective of your book?
Thank you, Dr. The main purpose of the book is to start providing the legal aid and promoting human rights, the martyrs and the victims of 1971 war, liberation war, and advocating the going for social justice. Thank you.
একটু পরে এই আপুদের প্রেজেন্টেশন শুরু হবে, তো সবাই প্রেজেন্টেশনের স্লাইডগুলো রেডি করছেন, সঠিকভাবে সঠিক জায়গায় সংরক্ষণ করছেন। আর এখন ব্রেক থাকলেও নেক্সট প্রেজেন্টার যারা আছেন তারা হচ্ছে প্রিপেয়ার হয়ে নিচ্ছেন। ভাই প্রস্তুতি চলছে,
অডিয়েন্সকে কিভাবে দেখা যায় এখান থেকে তাই দেখে নিচ্ছি আগে।
আমাদের মাইক্রোফোন, পয়েন্টার।
The main unit of analysis for the study. Now chapter 2, profile of the respondents and participants. The share of the male and female population in the reviewed households was 52.9% and 47.1% respectively. The sex ratio was higher than the national average of 99.09 in rural areas. More than 66% of the household members are of working age. The average size was 5.09. Overall, 34.5% of the household members have education up to the secondary level, followed by another
study, chapter 4 discussion, and finally the chapter 5 conclusion and recommendation. Let's see the importance, significance and relevance of this book. We know although women are almost half of this total population, they are restricting this accept of reviewing decision making power, which hampers the food security and nutrition and health situation. In Bangladesh, very few studies has attempted to see the association of women's empowerment with food security and nutrition.
And then the decision making about food preparation, it is 86.8. It is huge. But in case of jointly employment of earning, it is 38.3. It is a lot. Then 76.7% about the family planning method. It is a good achievement, and 78.6% in case of daily task, and 92% overall they are self-earned money, they have the control. So in case of morbidity, it is 75% at the back pain and some fever, diarrhea and menstrual problem as well. The household food consumption. So it is relatable that most of them, we think, get their consumption of food by rice. That is 100% in 98.6%. And there is lack of fruits, dairy, sugars and green leafy vegetables.
He related this topic together, and as you know, it was the first attempt in Bangladesh. So as a first, many things was first, and it was a great initiative, I think. Thank you.
Women, because the topic is women empowerment, and I think in this class women are very empowered. No question from women, then it is not fair, because we are talking about women empowerment.
They feel like a chicken club.
First of all, I would like to ask a question to the audience. Are the women of NIPORT empowered in this batch?
Yes, ma'am.
Highly empowered.
Highly empowered. So I am proud of this. I am proud of this because just now Mr. Janialom said that in every sector, women should involved. Actually, I also believe in this. And the author tried to relate the empowerment with the food security. And what do you think that
this book was reviewed by Rifat Yasmin Jahan, number 6, and Suraya Khan, number 7, who worked under my supervision. They have already submitted several drafts of this report, and I have also shared the comments with them. Now they present their findings from the book review. As you know, that this oral presentation will be assessed on 3 parameters mainly. One is a discussion of the subject matter, language, and pronunciation. And next, style of the presentation, that means the way you have prepared your slides and the overall content of the slides. And effective communication with the audience, that includes eye contact, gesture, posture, voice modulation, etc. And at the later part of this presentation, there will be one question session, and we expect at least 4 questions from the audience. And you have to answer 2 of the questions. Each of you will answer 2 questions. When you answer, we basically look into the relevance and accuracy of answering the questions and techniques and style of answering the questions. So I'm sure that you have already been aware with this procedure of presentation. Now we can start the presentation. So when you start, please mention who is presenting first. Thank you very much.
Vision of society based on wealth, power, and authority. He focused on impact of globalization on the social class dynamics. In 16th century, European expansion led to colonization and new social hierarchies. Here he also mentioned revenue collection system played a role in creating structural social division. Here it shows that after independence, a war-torn nation with broken economy. He points out about developed nations that supported by remittance and also emerged of a middle-class lifestyle. In the case of Bangladesh, remittance play a role in poverty reduction and more efforts needed in poverty reduction, skill development and social.
Ms. Suraya, you started with the introduction, theme, structure, physical getup, and you also introduced the author, and you also presented chapter 1, 2, and 3, first 3 chapter of the book. Though initially you started with reading some of the text, but later you came back and you started delivering your own words. But at some points you also came back to your scripts. This was the weaker part of your presentation. I remember last night I sent you some tips on presenting in a very effective way, and the first tip was do not read your text or script. Okay, the best presentation is presenting something in a storytelling manner. Okay, in a story, because you have been through this book, you have reviewed the book, you have read the book several times, so now you can say the story of the books in your own words. I mean, don't bother with what you have written. I mean, presenting something else in your own words is the best presentation. On the style of the presentation, you prepared your slides. I mean, okay, putting not too much slides is good, but you made it too brief. You described most of the chapters in 20 to 25 words. You could have added something else in the presentation, in the slides, but in your words and what you presented, you supplemented them. You added something else that is appreciable. Because communication with the audience, that could have been a bit better. You communicated more with me rather than with the audience. I mean, here I'm nobody actually. You should have communicated more with the audience. You could have eye contact more with them. And you answered 2 questions: urban migration and class struggles, and the way you approach answering the question. They were perfect. Ms. Rifat, you presented from chapter 2 onwards, and you also presented the most critical part of the presentation, the criticism of the book. You followed some sort of presenting in storytelling manner, though you also at times followed script. I mean, in the future, when you present something, please do not follow the script. Just presenting your own words. put things on the screen and say things in your own words. If you read something, people, your audience will lose interest. But the tricky part, and the good part of your presentation was that though, despite you read your text, but you communicated with the audience, I mean, more frequently than Ms. Soraya. So you got some kind of compensation here. In the criticism part, one point was there were some reputations, but you didn't mention what kind of reputation. If you had mentioned some of the reputation things, that this was discussed in chapter 1 and it came back in chapter 2. So this was, and that could have been some instances. I mean, some instances would have been better. And your communication was better than Suraya, as I said earlier, that you communicated well with the audience. And as both of you are social, have a social science background, and this presentation could have been even better, though it was quite good. And you answered 2 questions. The approach you followed was all right. Thank you very much. And I congratulate both of you again on your hard work.
Thank you, sir.
To be here today to present my book review, Friendly Fires, Humpty Disorder and Other Essays. This book is reviewed by me. I am Muhammad Rahan Islam and my dear colleague Dr. Biplab Chandra Das. This review is conducted under the guidance of Mr. Salahuddin Ibn Said sir, Director of Rural Sociology, BARD, as part of the Foundation Training Course for NIPORT faculty. In this presentation, I will cover the key aspects of many institutions from ethical practices such as the Islamic banking, the dilemmas of rural finance in Bangladesh, the tragedy of missing middle. Though microcredit is providing small-scale loans to the poor, it is not yet successful in disbursing loan to the marginal, small and medium farmers. This article discusses this dilemma and highlights the need for reprisal of the strength and weakness of
Principal traits of the government are related to the economy. This famous picture resembles the famine in 1974, and this picture clearly shows how the people are affected. And the main, although in spite of having the floods in Brahmaputra river, but this famine is considered as one of the mismanagements of the government. This famous picture was taken in the Sri Lanka crisis, economic crisis in the Sri Lanka, and we know that the failures of the government leads to the people to the revolution. And this famous picture was taken in the 2008, and this picture was in the Zimbabwe, and the person was seen. A trolley full of money was going to buy a simple piece of bread. Well, let's come back to the main portion. Chapter 2.10, Political Instability in Bangladesh. Political instability in Bangladesh is not a new phenomenon and very few years. Thanks for the questions hearing. With this, I conclude here. Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Any questions, please?
The floor will be open for the question, but I have a different dream. I don't like to see this golden picture. I want to see a greenery scenario, having very nice song, like this, samurai. Okay, I think you're from anthropology, the university. Yes, sir.
Sir, I have a question for.
People have two people are competing each other, their own interest. The decision of each person affects the outcome for both. The outcome can be beneficial or harmful for each of them, and this is called the prisoner's dilemma.
Thank you. Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you ask the question. It should be to Mr. Mohammad Ryan.
Thank you, sir.
You are people.
Thank you both of you for your smart presentation. I have a question for Dr. Biplab. In your presentation, you mentioned the political instability, and there were some descriptions, but I want a specific answer from you that how this political instability affect the economy of our country. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Munir. Actually, political instability is a common scenario of our country, and political instability may hamper the economy of our country in following ways, such as different political parties have different international relations with other countries. There might be changes in the economic policies. There might be abolition or cancellation of different projects or mega projects. There might be abolition of 5 years planning. Thus, the political instability can damage economy.
Just starting from the Ryan, because he gave us the introduction of that book and how the writers pointed out the different issues related to Bangladesh politics, administration and governance. After his presentation, Dr. Biplab Chandra Das pointed out the way that the concluding part of the chapter, especially the conclusion and other issues related with this book, I think they've done their presentation very nicely, and I'm thankful to you. Almost everyone was very attentive, you are a very good listener. That is good because you are showing your due respect to your fellow group. That is the main part of the presentation, and thank you very much for the question that came from this book. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
I think after a long day session, you have given some time to us, and that's we are grateful to you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Indeed, but I have promises to keep, miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. Ladies and gentlemen, Honorable Chairperson, at first I would like to give thanks all of you for giving me a chance in this dais for present my presentation in front of you. Ladies and gentlemen, at first I would like to have your attention in this picture. Some of my colleagues are actually jumping. So, what does it have with relation of microfinance in this picture? While we jump, after 2 or 3 seconds or after a few seconds, we must have to fall down to the earth. Like that, this book's author, Mr. Bateman, described microfinance has some sort of sharp peak and there must have some sort of sharp decline. He described microfinance like this in his book. Then I would like to show you another picture. Look, a boy can't move from poverty and he's trapped in the form of poverty. What does it mean? In chapter 4 of this book, microfinance is known as a poverty trap. Actually, in long term, microfinance cannot reduce the poverty. Microfinance actually promoting the poverty. Mr. Bateman actually said that in his book. Okay. This chapter started by looking at the microfinance industry's own impact assessment. For much obvious reason, microfinance is actually seriously in conflict. The thing microfinance we are seeing now this time, we are actually seeing a partial side of microfinance. We cannot see the full picture of the microfinance. He actually said that in his books. And community displacement and client exit is a common problem in microfinance. The rest of the chapter was dedicated to closer examination of microfinance model practice. Okay. I'm sorry, sir. Okay. The foregrounding the main triggers that known underpin sustainable local economic development and assessing what impact microfinance has typically made with the context of each category. Microfinance model largely frustrates development. Actually, it hampers development. In long term, microfinance cannot promote development according to Mr. Bateman's statement. Okay. The presumed economic development and poverty reduction power of the microfinance model is far less than the International Development Committee has been led to believe to data, but that microfinance has been and a major contributor factor in the destruction of the main positive economic and social development trajectories. Okay. In this picture, I would like to show you a picture which is taken from the Sri Lanka. Some ladies are protesting against the microfinance system. And in this chapter, Mr. Bateman has said the commercialization and death of the microfinance. Look, there is a bank, it's a Kenyan Women Microfinance Bank. Do you think this bank is different than the other finance bank or other banks? No, this bank actually runs with a very high cost, the lending prices cost, the management cost is very high. So actually, while we are actually commercializing the microfinance, the extra amount of money actually taken from the rural people, from the common people, and they are actually acting like a loan shark. Mr. Bateman has described this in his book, and the new wave approach of microfinance raising the main paraphrase. They claim commercialization will facilitate the largest possible availability of microfinance at the lowest possible cost to governments and the international donor community. And in the growing number of cases where the microfinance industry has achieved its central goal, microfinance is made available to anyone who might want it. Even microfinance advocates have been forced to conduct that results have been very far from the satisfactory. Okay, in the next slide, moreover, examination of the comparator's case graphically shows deals with the commercialization of the microfinance activity, a whole host anti-social and anti-poor developments, especially their easy capture by senior staff. Actually, microfinance doesn't do well in the long term in the society. Okay, in this picture, what we're seeing our Honorable Nobel Laureate Dr. Mohammad Yunus is actually surrounded by some police and some advocates. And this picture actually represents the politics of the microfinance. From the 80s and 90s, while the microfinance boom actually occurred all over the world, there are so many lawsuits and cases regarding the microfinance system all over the world. And some would like to describe this. This is nothing, another modern version of the loan shark business. Okay, the politics of microfinance, mainly within the microfinance industry, has argued that today's microfinance model is the direct descent of the various forms of small-scale finance that emerged in the early 19th century to democratize the challenge new system of industrial capitalism. Okay. The Grameen Bank model that emerged in the 1980s, and even more so the new wave microfinance model that began to replace it from the early 1990s onwards, actually represents quite fundamental schemes with various groups and community revival movements supporting microfinance in the past. Okay, in the chapter 7, in this picture, what we're seeing sustainable growth. From the microfinance, we actually want sustainable growth, but in the reality, it can't do the sustainable growth. So what would be the alternatives of the microfinance? Even
খুব ভালো আড্ডা জমছে ক্যান্টনমেন্ট বোর্ড মার্কেটে।
অনেক নিউজ তো বাকিটা বলতেছি আমাদের এটা এক্সিবিশন করছে কিনা আমাদের এটা বাইরে এক্সিবিশন হয়েছে এনা আমার হতাশ
আমি ওনাদের হাতে দায়িত্ব তুলে দিই।
এখন হাইওয়েতে উঠে গেছি। হ্যাঁ, ঢাকা চিটাং হাইওয়েতে উঠে গেলাম আমরা। এখন পদুয়ার বাজারের দিকে যাচ্ছি। এখন 80 নিচে না। এখন তো 60, 55, 50, 45 50।
তারপর কোনটা? ও ওই যে ওইটা নেব। এটা কিসে দেখো?
ওটার পাইতে নেব।
এটা কিসে
পাইতে
দেখো?
পাইতে।
পাইতে?
হ্যাঁ। আমরা কোরিলেশন দেখাবো তখন আমরা সবগুলো বাইরে দেখা দিব একসাথে।
তাহলে এই যে
আমার সাথে না আসলে তো এটা ধরতে পাইতাম না, হ্যাঁ রুমে যেতাম না।
তাহলে এটা 2 জন না 3 জন আছে?
ঘুমায় গেছে। হ্যালো,
এটা কি
ঘুমায় গেছে নাকি? ও ইয়ারা তো দরজা এসে খুলতে পারছে এখন। 11 আর 9
জানি না শেষ পর্যন্ত ইউজ করতে পারবো না, তারপরে চেষ্টা করেছে।
11 আর 9 বুঝছেন?
হ্যাঁ
11 হলো রেসপন্ডেন্ট আর 9 হলো
mutual।
মিউচুয়ালি। হ্যাঁ, তাহলে এখানে বসাই দিচ্ছি 11 9 দিচ্ছি। থ্যাংক ইউ ভাই আপনার কষ্ট করার জন্য। রেসপন্ডেন্ট আর এটা দিয়ে মিউচুয়ালি। রেসপন্ডেন্ট কত পার্সেন্ট? 11 তো মানে 9।
হ্যাঁ 50 দেওয়া যাবে।
আচ্ছা আল্লাহ হাফেজ।
ঠিক আছে?
মানে এই পরিবেশগুলো তো আর পাবো না। এই যে রাতের বেলা এই যে একটা কি মানে নিঃসঙ্গ নিঃশব্দ বাড়ে 25 ঘন্টা
না স্যার অবশ্য বলছে যে ই ব্যাপার বেশি হলে অসুখ করার জন্য ব্যাপার না।
তো মশা বসে
এখানে অনেক পরিবেশ
of the respondents, we can see out of 20 respondents, the most, that means 10 respondents were within the age of 20 to 26 years, followed by 6 were within 14 to 19 years, and 4 were
Caregiver status. We have caregiver presence for support. That means who have the family support or near people who can give support to their illness and any other issues. 87% of the people we found they have caregiver presence for their support, and 13% of the people we found they do not have anyone to give them support. Functional status, that includes daily task workability. We found 90% of the respondents they can do their daily necessary works by their own, and only 6% of the people they couldn't do their work by themselves. So this is everything from my part. My fellow partner Dr. Ujjwal Hira will continue the rest of the presentation. Thank you.
Good morning to all, and thanks a lot our honorable chairperson, respected Dr. Anwar Hussain Biyasati from BART, for giving me opportunity to present the rest of the presentation. With permission, I started the rest of the. We use 3 indicators for basic nutrition and hygiene status. First one is balanced diet and affordability. Second one is sanitary uses, and third one is source of drink water. The first one is balanced diet that defines a nutritionally diverse eating pattern that includes fruits, vegetables, proteins, whole grains, and healthy fats in appropriate proportion to support overall health and well-being. In pie chart, we show the result of our field study. The first one is maximum 80% respondent are used to take balance diet at their daily food. And second one is moderately affordable balance diet, and 15%, and third one is 5% has got no access to balance diet. And second indicator is sanitary lecture system. This is the second indicator for basic nutrition.
And find some solutions to it. Thank you.
Any more? I think no more question. I have simple query to the presenter. You conducted the study in the Hatigara village and your sample size was
30.
30. Real 30?
Yes, sir.
30. Why you are laughing?
খুবই সুন্দর একটা পরিবেশ। এখানে একটা গাছ, সেই গাছকে কেন্দ্র করে অনেকগুলো বসার সিট, খুবই অ্যাস্থেটিক।
Among rural residents, the study also determined the behavioral pattern of tobacco consumption and prevalence of tobacco-related disease among them. Now, Section 2. Section 2 is related with the methodology of this report. Study design, cross-sectional study using questionnaire survey and a focus group discussion. Study population, rural people of Hatigara village, sample size 20, sampling technique, purposive random sampling. Inclusion criteria is more or less than 80. Duration of tobacco consumption more than 10 years. Now, the exclusion criteria is pregnancy, history of substances abuser other than tobacco. Data collection. During interview with a structured questionnaire with focus group discussion. Now we want to discuss the section 3. In this section, we discuss about the findings and analysis of the study. And in this part, we will check out some variables that we used in this studies. First of all, age of the respondents. Below 13 years, it was 20%, and above 13 years, it was 80%. Now, the number of family members. Number of family members above 5, it was 65%, and below 5, it was 35%. Now, the marital status of the respondents. Married, 85%, and unmarried, 50%. Now we come to our main issue and focus things, that tobacco-related information. Tobacco status. We say that in our field study, cigarette user is about 75%, Jordan user is 10%, bull user 5%, and mixed users 10%. We also find out the level of education of our respondents. Illiterate person 10%, up to the primary level 65%, and above primary level 25%. Now, the age of initiation that our report show from which they started the tobacco consumption from the age of death. Now, below 13 years it was 80%, and above 18 years it was 20%. And it's really shocking that 80% people of our respondents below 13 years, so that they are faced and involved in consumption of tobacco too early in their age.
Ischemic heart disease, 5% people, peripheral vascular disease, 15% of people, and others have no issues. Effects of passive consumption on family members. Cough, 13%, dyspnea 2%, no issues 5%. Quitting status, trying to quit 13%, not trying to quit 7%. Reasons behind inability to quit, 13% are suffering from addiction, 5% suffers peer pressure, and others 2%. Level of awareness regarding health hazards. Well aware 10%, moderately aware 6%, unaware 4%. Section 3. Limitations of of our study. Sample size was small, time constraints, longitudinal study will be preferable. Conclusion. Tobacco use throughout the country has serious negative impacts on public health, economic stability, and social well-being. Its widespread prevalence contributes to higher rate of chronic diseases such as chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, heart disease, and serious illness. Tobacco is called silent killer, responsible for chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, heart disease, lung elements. To tackle these challenges, it is essential to implement focus on health issues, public health interventions, educational program, policy measures. Such targeted efforts can help to reduce harm caused by tobacco and improve all outcomes. By implement all of these issues, we dream about a tobacco-free country. We agree?
Yes.
Suggestions. Health education should be
their household. We asked some indicators and mentioned that which indicators or variables contribute more in empowering themselves. Here, it is notable that every respondent was given to choose multiple options. That's why the percentage varies. 30% replied that equal distribution of family responsibilities is very much important for big empowerment for women. 70% replied that supporting family members is important. And 10% financial independence, 20% work-life balance, and 10% career opportunities. Now here we have tried to show the correlation between keep the salary, taking decision, and beer educational expense. That means we try to show correlation between or among different variables. Here it has been shown that 85% women who keep their salary to herself, they take the decision on children 35%. They bear educational expense of their children 40%. And another 15% women who keep salary mutually with their husband, they take the decision on their children 55% and bear educational expense combinedly with their husband 55%. Another correlation has been shown here. 80%
for adolescent girls. Now I am going to show the objective of our study. The general objective of our study to assess the current status of adolescent health in Hatigara village of Bangladesh, Kunda district. The specific objectives are to assess the mental health and effect ICT and social media on adolescent mental health, to find out health-related problems among adolescents, to explore the poverty-related problems and awareness among adolescents. The scope of our study are awareness and knowledge about mental health among adolescents, effect of ICT and social media on adolescents, awareness about puberty-related problems among adolescents, awareness about other health-related issues among adolescents, assessment of extracurricular activities of adolescents, assessment of relationship and attitude with family and society during adolescence, awareness about overall future plan and career of adolescents. Every research study, there is a rationale for what we do for this study. So the rationale of our study is adolescence is a critical development and period where rapid physical, cognitive and psychological changes occur, laying the foundation for future health and well-being, making it a prime time to intervene and address potential health risks that could impact adult lives, including behaviors like substance use, sexual health, nutrition and mental health issues. Early identification and intervention during the stage can significantly improve long-term outcome for individual and society as a whole. In the method of our study, in the study design, in our field study, there are total number of 30 respondents who interviewed through a structured interview schedule. Here we have a list of 60 questions to answer that. We choose a structured interview because all the samples are asked the same question in the same order. This ensures consistency and a fair opportunity for response. In the study area, we choose Hatikara village in Kumilla district. Data collection procedure. There are several methods of data collection. We know that data interview, focus group discussion, survey, questionnaire, and schedule questionnaire. We collect our primary data for direct face-to-face interview method with close-structured questionnaire. Sample technique. Sampling is a fundamental technique in research that involves selecting a smaller group or a sample from a larger population to represent the whole. We use simple random sampling because each member of the population has an equal chance of being selected as a sample in our study. Sample size. The total sample size for the study was 30. Procedure of data collection. Collected data was compiled and analyzed manually.
First is healthcare improvement. Establish more adolescent-friendly health services in local health centers. Organize regular health checkup camps for adolescents. Awareness and education. Conduct health education program in school and community centers. Increase awareness about menstrual hygiene and reproductive health. Provide mental health counseling facilities for adolescents. Parental and community involvement. Encourage open communication between parents and adolescents about health issues. Community-based initiatives to promote health lifestyle and reduce digital addiction. Digital well-being. Encourage responsible use of ICT and social media. Implement workshops on cyber safety and online mental health awareness. Before concluding our field study, I have a quote for the adolescent. Investing in adolescent health today means building a healthier, stronger, and more resilient future for generations to come. Thank you all for patience hearing.